Greetings, storytellers. So, I wanted to take a moment to share a story which I had forgotten about, and you probably know about or have heard. And if you haven't, well, I guess will be your first time. It's actually a story written by Plato, and it's called The Cave. And it's basically a metaphor for the world we live in, for life. So, imagine for a moment that you were inside a cave. And in this cave, you saw a chain of people standing facing a wall, and they're holding hands. So imagine just person by person by person, and they're just holding hands straight in a chain, and they're all facing this wall. And behind them is a fire burning brightly. So as they look at the wall, what are they seeing? They're seeing their silhouette. They're seeing the silhouette of themselves. They're seeing the silhouette or shadow of the other people they're with, the people that they live with. And they spend their lifetime kind of staring at these shadows. And because kind of what you believe and see becomes your reality, this becomes their reality, that the shadows to them are very real. And one day, one of the guys, or women, whatever, decides to kind of break the chain and let go. He kind of turns his head a little and notices a fire behind him. And then he notices a different color, whatever, outside the cave. So he decides to take a walk and walks outside the cave. Once outside, as he continues walking, he starts to see a blue sky. He sees trees. He sees animals or creatures he's never seen before. He sees grass. He sees a whole different experience, a whole different reality. And he looks up and he sees the sun. And then he looks down and he sees his shadow. He sees his shadow being cast by the sun. And suddenly, as he looks up and looks around him and then looks back down, he realizes something. He realizes that the shadow that he's been staring at his whole life, both of himself and of the other people he knew, wasn't real. That it was a shadow. I don't think he termed it that, but it was a shadow. It was a representation, if you will, of a reality. Because that's what a shadow is, right? It's a representation of you, just based on the sun and the light. So he got really excited about this understanding and this new knowledge, and realized how much there was to experience and see in the world, that he had been looking at it in a certain way, and that he'd only been looking at representations, that he'd only been looking at an illusion. And he decided, I have to tell my friends about this. I have to tell my family about this. So he re-enters the cave and tries to speak to the people there, but they don't really hear him. They're staring at his shadow, which is now acting very different, and they don't understand what they're seeing. And they can barely even understand the words, because it's not what their experience is. And they basically choose to ignore what they're seeing. And now he has this whole new understanding of the world and the reality that is possible, and he just can't share it with his friends. He can't share it with the people he's with, so he has to make a decision, which in this case is to thank them, turn around, and go experience the world. And he goes. And that's basically the story of the cave. And it made me think about a lot of the changes that I'm going through, the understandings I'm gaining, some of the conversations I've had with people that kind of don't get what I'm saying. And then there's this whole group of many other people that do, and can offer even more in terms of insight and knowledge. I think one of the biggest takeaways I had was the shadow piece this week, when I thought about, isn't that what we're seeing? Because if we're all souls, and you believe in a higher spirit, or you believe in whatever you believe in, that there's something more, then our personas, the personality we've created, is really a shadow. It's a representation of a reality. A representation we are consciously creating, that our environment is contributing to, that the people we spend time with is contributing to, that the things we read, see, hear, feel, know all of our lives are and have contributed to. But still, it's a representation. So my question is, what if we saw beyond the representation? What if you were aware as you spoke to people and saw their pains and even your own pains and pleasures, and realized it was just a representation? It was just an extension of a belief that you've created, or that has been created for you and you've never questioned, or that you may not agree with or disagree with, but I think it's something to think about. Because if we could see beyond that, could you imagine how we'd be seeing one another? Beyond people's moments, beyond a moment of anger, beyond a moment of reaction, whatever the case is, seeing beyond that and remembering this is just a representation of reality. I'm looking at a shadow. So this is the kind of thought that's kind of been sticking with me ever since I've revisited this allegory. And maybe you'll take something from it. Maybe there'll be a piece of this story that speaks to you, that makes you question something within yourself or within the people you know, or allows you a little more freedom to not hold on to each reaction that you have to things that are going on in your life, but maybe stand back a little and observe and say, okay, this is the reflection, but it's not the actual. Okay, something to think about, and I hope you take away from it. I hope you enjoy, and feel free to share with others. I would love your comments and your feedback. Create an amazing day, storytellers.